Hello, I'm so excited about today. This is the first thing that I've bought for Vlogmas as far as patterns go. Everything else has been free or one of mine. And I'm going to be making a dog toy. A squeaky toy. So the tradition of my dogs is they love hedgehogs, and it just all started with Molly, and it was the first toy we ever got her, and ever since then she just likes that shape. Loki, not so much. He likes things that are a little bit floppier and smaller. But I saw this hedgehog pattern, and I thought, oh, we're going to make this into a dog toy, because I don't really have any other stuffies that work. I have a giraffe pattern, but the giraffe pattern is like 14 inches tall. It's huge. I thought it was little. It would have been perfect, but I just didn't want to scale that one down. So anyway, we're going to be making the Funky Friends Factory. Have you ever seen their patterns? They have stuffed animal for every kind of animal. It's amazing. I've made the guinea pig before, and I also made a scaled down version of it, and it turned out really cute. My mom and my sister are really into guinea pigs. They both have had them as pets. When I started poking around, I was like, wait a minute, a hedgehog. Wait a minute, let's find this. And of course they have one. So I feel like, in all honesty and transparency, it probably took longer to cut this out than it will to sew it together. So it's, anytime you have little pieces, it can get a little fiddly, right? So I wanted to show that I scaled it down. So this is the full size pattern right here. This is the stomach only, right? And this measures 12 inches long by 10 inches tall at full size. So I decided to I tried 80%. That still looked a little big. So I went down to 70%. This might be too small, but our favorite hedgies are small. So here, I'll show you. All my pattern pieces fit in this little pin tray. That gives you an idea. So here is the sides of the hedgehog, right? So this is 70% size. I love scaling patterns down with the printer. It's just a really quick and dirty way to do it. The problem with doing this is scale happens rapidly, like more than you think. So saying I want this half size is a lot smaller than you think, right? So I would start off at like 85%. Anytime you're scaling anything down, like adult to kid, when I've made backpacks, first time I remember going, oh, 60% for sure. Then I was like, oh, this would be a backpack for my smallest dog. So when I've done things for like bags for kids, I've done 85%, and that was about as small as I wanted to go. So 70%, and I labeled all my pieces. So let's give it a shot. We'll see what it's like. I also shortened my stitch length, and I wrote a cheat sheet of all the steps right here so that I don't have to use the instructions. But there is video for this as well. And yeah, there's a lot of helpful information here. So, oh, I almost lost my pen there. All right, so, and I also have lots of squeakers. So that's another thing about, I'm hesitant to put a squeaker in this because we had a really expensive, really, I can't stress how expensive it was, vet visit, because our dog accidentally swallowed a squeaker. And it's really easy to think, how could you let that happen? Well, things like that happen, right? Animals just do their thing. And at the time, there was usually always someone home because my husband was working at home, or my daughter was home, or I was home because of world events. And my husband went into town for an hour and a half. He was gone like an hour and a half. No big deal. Dogs are fine by themselves, totally fine being in the house. They're totally safe. And our little dog loved the squeakers from toys. He loved to dig them out, remove the little squeaky bit, this little thing that pops out right here at the end. Doesn't care about that. He liked the shape, especially this blue one, this one right here. It's from a bark box. This fits in the roof of his mouth perfectly, and he just loves to sit there and just like a teether, right? And eventually they're just a completely flat piece of plastic, and he loves it like that, and then it folds in half like a taco. Well, I'm pretty sure what happened was he was just sitting there, just whatever. It was in a taco shape, and it probably just slipped partly down his throat and he swallowed it. So it happened probably very easily, and things got really bad, really fast, and really expensive. So now I usually remove the squeakers, or I keep an eye on it. He loves them so much, at least in the toy, that I just take it out immediately once he's compromised the toy, which he doesn't usually tear apart toys. So I'm going to put squeakers in here just as a little tutorial thing, and I'm going to put them in like a little sleeve of fabric. I thought I could just put them in there, and I'm going to tether the little sleeve of fabric to the toy. So we'll give it a shot. All right, let's get going. Kind of excited about this. All right, so I'm using more mask fabric. Oh gosh, please everybody stay in the bin. Please stay in the bin. I'm using more mask fabric. This is going to be the sides. So I think it's going to look like this. This is the tummy. Oh my God, my feet. And so this is the little tummy. So this is my little hedgehog. And then he's got ears, potentially green eyes. I probably will skip the eyes. I'm going to use some Insole Bright as a crinkly. It's not very crinkly. And I'm also wondering, like, I don't think this would bug their teeth if they chewed on it. It'll be inside fabric. These are the little feet I have here. So I just thought of adding a little crinkle factor. They don't care about crinkle. They like squeak. Squeak and floppability. Anything they shake and that hits their face, they love that. So, all right, so let's pull these aside here. We're going to really manage our pieces here. And I kept my pattern pieces with it because everything's labeled. And you sew, you know, from A to B and stuff like that. So, all right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew our spikes together. And it does say go A to B, so we're going to go this whole perimeter edge. Now, one of the funny things I started to say about scaling patterns using your printer that is very much kind of playing loose and fast with the pattern is the seam allowance. So when you use the pattern full size, you're getting the full seam allowance. So when you scale it down, you're getting less seam allowance, and you have to bear that in mind. So already some of these seams are only 1/8 of an inch. So you can draw your own conclusion about how really small some of these seam allowances are going to get. But we're talking about a dog toy, and as long as you're consistent, it's not like you're going to change the way something fits you by using the wrong seam allowance. I can tell this fleece is like pushing things aside, so I had to compensate there. This was a really fussy thing to cut out too, so it's not like you can really batch cut something like this out when it's really thick fabric. At least I can't. I feel like my machine is about to run out of thread, but I know it's not. All right. I said I have such a short seam allowance. All right, I'm going to flip it over and make sure. See right there, I almost didn't catch it right there and there. So let's just double check. I don't think there's anything wrong with triple sewing or double sewing a dog toy either, right? Toys never last long enough. There we go. I think that's a better seam allowance amount on both sides. Oh, right here, we're a little shy. Yeah, any of these fabrics with a pile will kind of push over, you know, when the pile falls down, and then it makes it, you know, it's no longer lined up, right? All right, so now we're going to trim all these little points off. Like this. Yeah, I want that one. It's kind of hard to see which one I want now. And then we're going to go down into the little valley as well. I'm going to trim these down. This one here. I hope I can keep all this straight. There's a lot of little pieces. Okay. One more divot. Oh, did I go too far there? Oh, I almost went too far there. Let's see. All right. All right, I'm gonna get my chopstick out. I think it'll be easier to use something kind of blunt to turn these points. I'm gonna be methodical so I don't miss one too. Fussy sewing. This is kind of a tongue-in-cheek project too, because I feel like my husband gets on little kicks of like, he's never ever one to say, you know what, you should sew. He knows like that's just kind of, sometimes, you know, can be rude depending on where it's coming from, right? It wouldn't be rude coming from him, but he has said something almost to the equivalent about doing dog toys, because I think in some ways when you think of something kind of small, you think, oh, it's easier to sew if it's smaller. All right, this is clearly the way this goes. So I'll just pin it, that's fine. I don't want to lose the front to the back. And I've told him, I'm like, dog toys are so fiddly, you know what I mean? Like they're just so fiddly. It's such small pieces and they're just really hard. Like anything small is hard. All right, so now we have our sides. And this is also the face. I think labeling this head and side would have been more accurate and a little bit easier to figure out what fabric you're trying to think of. Oh, we need to do the ears. All right, let's find our ears. That's these guys here. Right, yeah, ear. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's see here. I was thinking something like that. Well, I'm kind of trying to get it so that it's, I guess I can't, I just can't. Okay, it's gonna be a gold ear and a pink and blue ear. That's just how it is. All right, so we're gonna sew around the perimeter. I'm not changing my thread color, but this one I may think I should have by the end, because, you know, we're gonna turn this right side out and that little seam will kind of show, you know, like when it's being pulled. All right. Oh man, okay. Even just fusing all this stuff, this is a perfect project to do some block fusing and then cut your pieces out, by the way. If you do something like this, anytime you do these itty bitty things, I would block fuse your fabric if you can, and then cut them out. Because I didn't think about that, and you know, the thing is, I don't think fusing is called for, but this mask fabric is pretty small, or I mean thin. So I decided to fuse it to give it more body. It's a dog toy. Like, this is not intended to be a dog toy. So we're trying to give it a little bit more oomph. Like, this would last 2 seconds with my parents' dog, but our dog, they're a little more, they'll make it last. All right. It's so small. Where's my chopstick? Here we go. I'm just gonna run the chopstick along the seam there. So see, yeah, you can see my thread right here. You can see it. They won't care. All right. Make sure my microphone's not getting muffled. I don't have a live chat to tell me what I'm doing. All right, so here's our ears. One of the tips, this is what I'm talking about during the Marley hood, is to fold the ear on itself. So I think that okay, yeah, so on this little slope, there's a little line to fold it like this. And then this way the ear will stay standing up. So I'm gonna do that tip. I think that's a smart tip. Like this. Okay. So now we have 2 ears. I don't really like the seam coming across the front. Maybe you'll do a better job of it. All right, so now we have our ears. All right, sides, A to C. So that's from here to here, top to bottom. And this is the face. My thread is also a little thick for this. I'm using a Tex 40. thread comes in different weights, you know that, but it's also measured in a few different ways, primarily 2 different ways, and it's really confusing. So some thread weights, the lower the number, the heavier it is. Others, it's the opposite, and so mine is the latter. So Tex 40 is heavier, Tex 27 is lighter weight, and I think Tex 27 would be more appropriate for something like this. Anytime you have a seam that's going to get pulled apart like this, you know, just kind of under stress, being stuffed or something, you want something a little finer, a smaller needle, and matching. And I'm using a pretty chunky needle with some chunky thread. All right, again, dog toy, right? Okay, so we did that. Ears to sides. So it looks like the ears go right here along the top. I didn't do any notching. So right at that little point. Okay, and so we want the fold to go face down. I'm going to make sure I get these little threads to the seam allowance. I have a feeling all these little threads are going to peek out my seam. Here too. All right, see our little hedgehog already. I would love to see a hedgehog in like the wild. I mean, I know people have them as pets. That'd be cool too. But I can't believe that you would just see one out in the wild. That's crazy. All right. Outer legs to sides. Okay, so this one kind of confused me. So there's a lot of leg pieces. There's a lot of leg pieces, people. There's too many leg pieces. Okay. And that is because there are outer legs and inner legs, front legs, and back legs. I'm telling you, it's too many legs. Okay, so this right here, inner back leg, inner front leg, which is missing one right now, I can tell. Unless I just didn't, maybe I think I still wasn't understanding how these pieces went. I may not get to use my crinkle. Okay. So the way this goes is that you sew one layer of legs to the body and then the other layer of legs to the underside, and then you sew around the perimeter and go around each leg, and then you can stuff them each. And so that's not how I was understanding when I was cutting it out. I was actually having trouble wrapping my head around it. Then I saw the sewing instructions. I was like, okay, I get it here. All right, so we want our outer legs here. These are inner and front. Okay, we're going to put you guys right there in the little tray. Eyeballs. Tummy. Telling you, piece management. Okay, so front legs. These are outer front legs. So the legs go to sides. Front leg, back leg. Okay. Okay, this goes right here. Here. And here, like that. And then we're going to flip and flip, just like that. And I think this is a good time to look at the instructions and make sure, because they were like, make sure you don't get your legs flipped. And so, oh yeah, and I am doing this wrong. Okay, so it goes like this, like this. Okay, you got to flip them over. The legs point towards the head, like that. That makes more sense. Okay. Good thing I checked. All right. This. Maybe this has got to be driving you guys crazy that I'm not being very accurate. Let's do some notches. We're just going to do the first notch of each one of these that I'm going to come to. Like that. and you, and you. Okay. One, two, three. Okay. Start here. All right. This really is going to go together fast, I can already tell. Because I feel like this was really far into the instructions when I was writing them down. I mean, we're already on step 5, and there's 15 steps. So, yeah, this is going to go quick. Okay, so then look, here's our little, our little hedgehog. And look, that's a good size. I think that was the right amount. So, okay, good. All right, so now we're going to do the eyes. So if you want eyes, now is the time to do it. And I'll put some eyeballs on there. Why not? It'll be cuter. I'm going to do felt eyes because it's a dog toy. There is something called safety eyes, and I think did I bring mine over? I did. I brought mine over because I actually happen to have this from something that I didn't end up using. So this is a black velvet safety nose. And when they say that, that means that it's safe for kids. So, you know, you don't have a baby. Not that I would ever 100% trust that, but if a baby's chewing on something, you don't want them to get the eyeball off or the nose off, right? And the same thing here. And they come with like a little, this right here, these are amber brown safety eyes. So you can get these, and then it has this little flange that you poke it through. I got this for a project, and then I ended up not needing it. And then here's some noses. Awesome. And then these are a different style that I got somewhere a long time ago. And I actually tried using them and I couldn't work it, but it's on a wire. So there's these. And then these, look at this little tiny nose. Can you see there's even nostrils and the septum there? See that? And then little eyeballs. So there's lots of different styles when you get into the world of doll making. This is not even the tip of the iceberg. So, all right, so we have eyes. And it's like I get excited. I'm like, oh, I'm finally going to use that thing from my stash. And then it's like, oh, it's a dog toy. Maybe I shouldn't use it for that, you know? And you would probably want to also hand sew this on. Okay, so about there. Oh, actually, I can actually feel the other one and see it. If I hold it up to the light, I can see through to place that other eye. No, I dropped an eyeball. Okay. There we go. It could be a little googly-eyed, right? I think I'm just going to sew an X over these so I don't spend time trying to sew a circle, you know? Talking about something that could potentially be gone the same day I give it to them, right? Or it'll last a while. You just never know. When I first got Loki, I had to bring him with me everywhere because he was a puppy. And I brought him to my office and I forgot to bring toys. So I had to spend time making toys. And he actually does play with that toy sometimes. So I'm always like, okay, well, it's not, you know, he doesn't turn his nose up at every, you know, handmade things, so right? Okay, so now we're on 7. Inner legs to tummy. Let's appreciate my little, it's hard to see it. There, do you see him? Okay, what did I say? Inner legs to tummy. Okay, so here's our tummy. This is a boiled wool left over from my Wixton online jacket hanging out over there. Okay, so these are a little bit obvious as far as the shape goes. So if I had wanted to do the crinkle, I would have had to do two of either the inner legs, each of these, or two of the outer, but not one of each and not two of each, because it's basically the inner leg pattern goes like, this is the front. So this is how the pattern piece is going to be sewn, like this, right? So I actually could just use one of these on each one maybe, you know, and at least each leg would have one. It would just be weird that it would be sewn to the top or the bottom, but not consistently, if that makes sense. All right, so this goes here, here, right? Like this. Actually, the tummy is gonna go, let's look at the picture. Yep, they still point forward. Okay, so they point forward just like this, all right? Like this. Okay, and we could put one of these on here, and then here, and here, and one of these can get it, and then on these, I'm assuming it's going to go like that. Right, that would be the tummy, like, oh no, it goes like this. Yeah, it goes like this. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, see? Oh, there's my little hedgehog. Okay, so this side would need there, and so that way we can just lay those on there and I can just trim it away. Okay. Okay. We'll just trim this away. And now we can use these. It's not like dogs have fillings, so the metal will bug their teeth. And if it does, I would just rip the little legs off and sew it shut. But, you know. Okay, so. All right, so we're going to tack these down. I don't think I'm gonna have to stuff my legs because of using that extra layer of thick fabric, and because my legs are made out of the boiled wool. I don't know if that'll be an advantage or not, but it potentially could be, because I think that this would be a very fussy thing to stuff, considering I've made it so small. And I think if I were being really picky, like the next time I make this, now that this is like my practice hedgehog, I would probably put the crinkly stuff in the leg that faces up, right? Okay, so let's put all of these pieces in here. Okay, so now inner legs to tummy, got that. Sides, head to tummy, FCF. Okay, so that means this right here. So we're going to sew this right here. And I'm going to press the seam open, even though it is minuscule. Where's my awl? All right, okay. And now this is going to fold back on itself, right? Yeah, okay. So now we're going to line up legs and arms. And sides to tummy, head, FCF, okay. Sides E to G. E to G. So not that little E. Oh, okay, so that's F right there. Okay, yeah, yeah. So now we're going to go around this whole side here with these legs lined up like this, right? Open this out. Yeah, okay. She makes a very valid point to pin a lot. And I think that's a good idea. Okay. Now I'm wondering if the seam allowance being pressed one way or the other will make a difference with the leg or not. Around the perimeter of the foot. Let's bring the camera down. It's a little better, huh? At least I'm not turning the camera off on you today. All right, this leg here. Kind of pulling that belly. I'm not onto this piece yet. There we go. I'm definitely try-harding. I don't think I could have pinned all this. It would have taken forever, and that foot got a little small, didn't it? There's so many weird angles here, you know, so maybe it would have helped. Okay, and then we have this little point here, right? Need to, yep. I don't quite have the seam. I don't want that tuck right there. Okay, there we go. I think that'll be okay. Let's trim this a little bit. This kind of reminds me of when I jumped on that mini quilt sew along by, is it Allison Glass and Juicy Juice? The Juicy Juice is they're both fabric designers, but, right? I think it's them. I know for sure it's Juicy Juice. Because anytime you see those little tiny quilts with all that detail, I have a few up over there on my wall because that's all I did was a few. It would take me like a couple hours to do all the fabrics, and I kept it easy. Like I was like, all right, we're gonna do one color palette. So I just picked out a rainbow, or I had like a rainbow jelly roll, and then I bought a black solid to go with it all. This right here is where I'm having trouble lining up right here. Because you're supposed to go like this. And that seam right there, that seam goes to this little notch. See how far away my leg is right there? That's where I'm having trouble getting it all to line up. Yeah, that is kind of far away actually. Like if you line these up, you're supposed to sew that. That notch is actually kind of far away right there. So maybe I'm doing something a little bit off there, but pretty sure they're supposed to go like that. But anyway, I did that little so long, and my very experienced quilting friends were like, oh, you're doing that little so long, huh? And I could tell it was one of those things where they were all kind of laughing internally, like, she fell for it, you know, because I'm a novice quilter. But, you know, it's like the classic beginner thing to do is you're like a kid in a candy store, right? When you want to sew something, and you go for all the flashy yarn when you're a new knitter, and the flashy sewing fabrics for sewing projects or something. And the thing is, like, I don't actually have a problem with that, because that's the kind of stuff that really gets you excited to do the craft and awesome. It definitely is a lot more work, and depending on who the person is in your life that's helping you, it can be a burden to them if you're like having to ask a ton of questions, right? And they're kind of like, well, actually, maybe we should go back to square one. You skipped all the squares and you're here at the advanced level. Like, look at, even the advanced people aren't doing this because they know it's crazy. You know, that's really what I should have been. I should have been reading the room, but I was so determined because I was so in love with the way those little things look. Ooh, the stuff's making me itchy. I'll show you, I'll try and remember at the end of this to show you my little squares, because I'm very proud of them, even though technically they're kind of meh, you know. I'm still pretty proud of them. All right, is that really going to make it there? I have definite doubts. I'm really glad my dogs aren't very judgmental. They're only judgmental if I'm late for feeding them. And my husband does that mostly. All right. Oof. I'm stretching that. Okay. But those little squares, man, those little quilt squares, they are, and you foundation paper piece, which is something I'm still a beginner at as well, but it's kind of a magical process. And yeah, you spend a lot of time cutting stuff out, and it's very precise sewing for something that's this big, you know. It also reminds me of when I had clients, and I had a lot of clients when I was freelance. I was freelance for a really long time, 11 years freelance. It was a really good experience. If you're ever trying to get a business going and you're freelance, say yes to everything. You'll get really good at your craft. You'll get good at billing, and you'll get work. And then eventually you can say no to what you want to say no to. But yeah, that would be the thing. People would say, I have this really simple project. And I'm not even stereotyping. It is very much fact. Simple projects take a lot more engineering. And I wouldn't say that right off the bat. I would listen to them and see what they thought was simple. Because sometimes I'd be like, oh, you know, that's going to be okay, you know, and I don't have to make a stink about this. But there were definitely people where they just couldn't understand why it was going to take so long. I'm like, well, because you're wanting this thing to do like everything in 2 pattern pieces, and that's going to be a lot of work to make it all happen, you know. Some people were just like, yeah, you're the expert. Do what it takes, you know. I always wanted to charge it like a fee for the simple fee, the simple tax. But not even as a vindictive thing, just be like, oh, we're doing simple? All right, there's a straight up, you know, $300 surcharge for anything simple. Oh my goodness, look at it. Look at it. Oh my, this is so cute. I am so in love with this little thing. I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh, I'm getting teary-eyed. This is so cute. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay. Where am I at? Sides to tummy. I did that. Sides, E to G. That's what I just did, right? Man, you gotta keep track. Okay. Number 10, center, D, G, B, and gap. This is D, G, and D, D, G, B. Okay, so this right here. Okay, yeah, so this. Oh my goodness. Okay, right here, right here, right here. Okay, so this. He looks like he's wearing shoes. The boiled wool. Good, it was a good call. All right, we need to leave a gap for stuffing. All right, so I'm gonna sew for a little bit right here. Okay, and then we're gonna continue. God, all that stuff did not look like it was lining up, and now it just looks so stinking cute. How much of a gap? Okay. Bigger the better when it comes to these kinds of things. All right. Okay. Turn over and tuck legs and ears. What does that mean? And turn over and tuck. Oh, I think you want to make sure these don't get stuck in the seam. Okay. Look at him, he looks like he's hugging himself. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay. Spikes to side, A and B. Match A and B. All right, so this is the front. I literally can't stop smiling. I'm so excited about this. Okay. Yeah, so it goes like that. Like this, okay. This is it. This is our last seam. Okay, so we need to attach the squeaker. Okay. Told you that would be really fast to sew. All right, so this is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna make like this little ugly piece of fabric. It's a selvage. And I was thinking of double squeaker in it. It's the holidays, right? So we're just gonna sew a little sock. I'm really struggling here. Okay. Something like that. So I'm just gonna sew around it. Okay. My main reason for doing this is the safety thing. I was thinking that this would be a good second line of defense. So if I see that he's starting to unstuff it, when he got this out, this would be a lot harder to open. Like knit will be really hard to open. So I think that that's one of the reasons I was thinking like, okay, that gives me another chance to see it in action. I'm gonna trim this down a little bit. Oh my gosh, my scissors. And then I'm just gonna attach it like right here. I could even tack it in a few places. That might be a good idea. The harder it is, the better. Okay, and then maybe, I think I'll just leave that like that. Okay, all right, so now let's, oh, I've kind of lost the, which is the front and which is the back. Oh yeah, I'm glad I checked. Okay, this is the front right here. Okay. So let's start back here at the butt. Okay, tuck your legs. I didn't want to pin them because I didn't want it to be impossible to turn it right side out. You know what I mean? I've made that mistake before. Okay, we're gonna pin this right here though, so that we make sure we have this non-negotiable spot. And I just use like a polar fleece for the spikes. I just use scraps for all of this. It was kind of nice to be able to use some of the boiled wool because I have this kind of a little chunk, and that stuff was really nice fabric. But it's not like it's enough to make anything. This is perfect. I thought, okay, this will be great. Like, say if I want some hand warmer pockets on something, I can use it for that. Hedgehogs, you know. Oh, are any of you going to make some of these? I want to know. If you guys are going to make an animal from Funky Friends, I want to know what you picked. I'm going to reinforce this guy right here, this seam right here. That was a little wonky. Okay. Okay, so now we get to turn it through this hole. Are you kidding? Okay. Tell me a story. There's no chat for you to tell me a story. I can't wait. It's like, it's a hedgehog birth. Hope I can get the squeakers through there. I may have wanted to, oh no, I couldn't have waited. We'll get them through there. Okay. In fact, that's all we got to get through there now. One at a time. Boop. Boop. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh no, there's a thread there. Oh my goodness. It's so cute. Look at its little body. Okay, I really think the body's cute because of the boiled wool makes it look like an actual fuzzy creature. All right, where's that thread? I'm gonna get rid of this thread. And then let's stuff it. So I brought over all this, and I have more if I have to go get more. But this was just from that Marley hood. Figure this would be perfect, right? Not a fan of stuffing things. Definitely not a fan of stuffing things. Okay. So one of the other things that you do is you make cheeks, and you're supposed to put the cheeks right over the point here, and it'll cover that little tuck up. Show you a picture. You see how right here there's a little cheek. I hate to say it, but my hedgehog is cuter. See, there's those safety eyes too. All right. A little bit of polar fleece in here. Oh, this was kind of long. Ooh, I didn't realize you guys have been sitting here for that long. These are getting longer and longer. Using scraps to stuff things isn't as successful as people think. Like, you've probably heard that too. Like, I'll just make pillows, and then you're like, this is the most uncomfortable pillow ever. So, I think it's great for something like a stuffed animal, or at least a dog toy. I'm gonna stuff the spikes now. Because it's really not that great as a stuffing material. I've made dog beds with scraps, and I had to take out most of the scrap. It was too hard and heavy. And so what I did was I wrapped the scraps in a softer fabric. And then one of my closet core poofs that I made, I actually use to put like unused bedding that, you know how like you get those sheets and they're just like, you just cannot use those sheets anymore. They are ruined. You can't really donate them. And you could just basically throw them away. And so I use things like that, like really ratty towels that I just can't use as rags even. Maybe they have paint so they're crispy or whatever. I use those in there too. Okay, let's see here. Really hope my microphone's good. Okay. It's still pretty big. He's still pretty big. He kind of needs a tail. Okay, and she said put the ears like this. So put the seam so that the ears poke up when you're stuffing it like this. So that way the ears stay up. A lot of good tips. I think also this polar fleece, it could just get bigger and bigger and bigger because it stretches, so I gotta be careful. All right, so I'm gonna get just a little bit more scrap. I think I have some more fleece sitting there. Let's see here. We have some Hedgehog. Oh yeah, here we go. Perfect. That sweater I made, the Lisbon. Perfect. This is nice and soft and squishy. Put that in there. This might be all I need. We should maybe make sure those squeakers are easy to squeak. Let's see here. They're always harder for Loki because his mouth is so small. Put him closer down here at the bottom. There might be some science to squeaker placement. Okay. Put that under the stuffing. Okay. I think that's better. One of them's not squeaking anymore. Okay, let's see. Let's do a little bit more. I need to stuff that nose a little better. Okay. That's when you start getting it firm in there, then you create a pocket and more space. Okay, there we go. That's probably good. He's huge. I think I would probably make I'd probably make this exact same size, but I might cut this down a lot. All right, let's hand sew it shut. Okay. If you need to go, I understand. Here's my little tip though when you're hand sewing. You've probably heard me say this, but if you start your thread, this is probably gonna be a little bit of a struggle because my thread's kind of thick. So take your strand and fold it in half, right? So I have a closed loop at the end there, this is honestly just way too long. So longer is not better, it's just aggravating. I always try to take shortcuts with hand sewing. You guys know me. All right, so put both cut ends through your needle. Okay. all right, and just pull them through 4 or 5 inches, right? Now, when you get here, I'm going to do it just in the seam allowance here, but I'm just going to poke it through to where my loop just barely sticks out, and then I stick my needle through like that. And now I don't have to do a knot, and it's nice and smooth. This is really great in areas where you don't want anyone to see the hand sewing. Here it's not as crucial, you know. I am going to really strongly hand sew this though. Dogs always seem to know where the chink in the armor is, right? It's not a very big hole, but we managed. I'm not going for invisible here, just mainly because the video is taking so much time. If you're doing this as for a gift, you might want to. Sorry, I just sewed myself. Sorry, I keep sewing myself on camera. It happens. I do it all the time. Once I hand sewed something to my upper thigh and I didn't even know it. It didn't even hurt. It was crazy. Lifted it up and I was like, oh, it's attached to me. I've definitely sewn to my clothes before. I think we've all done that. Okay, I think I'm almost there. Yep, there it is. Okay. All right, and then how I end, I will usually do it somewhere inconspicuous, but I'm going to go through a few times. And because normally I would just go right here and do it again, but that little loop on top would show. If you're doing it somewhere like in a seam allowance, you can do that. But I'm just going to go back and forth. Not into the same hole or anything. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to get it into a new hole. I just go back and forth. And then sometimes I will do it a few more times. Or just go in like that if I don't end up tying a knot. And then I give it a little tug, cut, and then it snaps in there at the little end. All right, let's see. Hannah the Hedgehog. Oh goodness, it's so big. I can't believe. I wonder how big that other one would have been. He's pretty sizable. So you could put a little cheek right here or a little mouth. Definitely the peaches or citrus is distracting on his face, I think. But he's really cute. All right, let's write our letter really quickly to Santa. Because I thought of one for today that's perfect. I'm so excited about this. Okay. All right, dear Santa. This one's for the pets. Please keep our pets safe. Help the sick ones get better very soon. I know lots of people have pets that are probably sick right now, maybe at the vet, maybe going through stuff. And that's just always so heart-wrenching because they can't talk to you, can't tell you what's going on, and it's so expensive. There's just so much wrapped up in taking care of pets. So much judgment by others and guilt, and you know, just know that you know what's best and don't listen to anybody else, all right? I've been there. I have so been there with so many pets. I've raised thousands of animals, working on a farm and having my own little farm. So I understand what it's like, and you know, so yeah, we hope those sick ones get better very soon, and none of them eat anything they should not, Loki. All right, well, hope your pets are all safe this holiday season and snuggled up by the fire, not destroying the Christmas tree like my sister's cat did. They have a kitten. She climbed right up into the Christmas tree. Yeah, so boop, boop. Do you know that tune? All right, see you guys. Bye. Where's my thingy? Where's my thingy? Let me say bye. Bye.